This morning I was reading a story about a new study. This is about racial violence inside of domestic partnerships and marriages. And it said, listen, black people, they have a very high rate of domestic violence, like 8 times greater than monoracial white couples. But it also said interracial couples have a very high rate of violence, same as black couples. And so there were people that replied to this study saying, hey, these are facts. You guys got to pay attention to these facts, that black violence is wildly out of proportion wherever we find it. A couple people came in and they said, no. I'm going to tear up your analysis. I'm going to defeat you once and for all. You didn't read the last paragraph of the study. The last paragraph of the study said, the only reason this violence exists at such wild proportions to white people is because of white racism. So white people are always hassling black people in interracial relations. Oh, by the way, a woman wrote a book called Swirling Dating and Mating for basically it's a book for black women, showing them how to meet white men and Asian men. I've done a couple podcasts with her. One was on video, and she had a lot of her audience was tuning in. So I asked them. I said, when you guys are out on a date, who do you get pushback from? Do you get grief from white people or black people? Every single person in these interracial relationships say the pushback comes from black people. They're not shy. They come up to you in restaurants. They come up to you in lines. They just come up to you anywhere they see you, and they'll make a comment about how black people should not be dating white people. Anyway, I was thinking of that when I saw these stories here about black murder against white people at work. I mean, this black violence is wildly out of proportion in this country, no matter what the setting.
Told Evan Parker confessed to the crime, saying he felt picked on at work. Investigators, though, have not talked to anyone who indicated there was a problem. Regardless, he is now accused of killing his supervisor and injuring a coworker. He was arrested here at his apartment in West Harris County this afternoon. And for the family of the deceased victim, some poetic justice.
A small gesture.
My captain asked for a pair of my handcuffs so that when they find them, they can put them on them.
Tim Parnell confirms was carried out. Parnell, a Katy police officer, his handcuffs used on Evan Parker, the man accused of killing his father, Harry Parnell.
In my profession, I deal with those things all the time. We get those calls, but you never think it's going to hit home, like this.
It was last night when the Waller County Sheriff's Office says Parker walked into his workplace, Spritzer Industries in Brookshire, asked for Parnell, and then stabbed him to death. He also stabbed another employee, Jose Rangel, who was critically injured but survived. Parker, a contract worker with a violent criminal past, had been on the run until this morning when he returned home to his apartment in West Harris County. Officers soon went in to get him.
Law enforcement officers made entry. The suspect, Park, was sitting on his couch. He had a BB gun pistol in his hand. As my understanding, he pointed it at them. They backed out and then began a short negotiation, lasted maybe 20 to 30 minutes. And then he surrendered. There were no injuries to himself or any law enforcement officers.
Parker was interviewed and then booked into jail. This is his latest mugshot. The deadly stabbing, possibly motivated by revenge, says the sheriff. Parnell, a husband, father, and grandfather, died where he worked for 20 years.
I am who I am now because of my dad, He taught me to work hard.
The man charged with killing a Chicago mechanic at an AutoZone appears in court. Relatives of the victim believe the deadly hit and run may have been the result of an argument over a job. Both men worked together. Eyewitness News reporter Leah Hope in the media center with this story. Leah?
This evening, a local family struggling with how to pay for the funeral of a 22-year-old man. Carlos Posadas was working as a mechanic in the West Chatham neighborhood. A disagreement about a payment for a job may have been the motivation for his coworker to allegedly hit him with a pickup truck. Tributes for a young man killed at work on West 87th Street. On Monday, Carlos Posadas died after being struck by a pickup truck. Today, his coworker, Keith Watley, was in court, held on no bond. Among the evidence, a prosecutor told the judge about surveillance video of the incident.
Keith Watley speeds straight towards the victim without braking or swerving. Carlos Posada is struck and pinned between the front end of the defendant's truck and the passenger side of the Honda Accord he was working on. After striking the victim, Keith Watley then drove his full-size pickup truck over Carlos Posada's, causing additional severe injuries.
In court, the prosecutor referenced an argument between the two the day before over $100 for fixing a customer's car.
It's not worth taking his life. It wasn't worth taking his life. But I guess he's a heartless person.
Posada's sister-in-law says the family is struggling with a loss and a way to get Posadas back to Honduras for his burial.
A lot of us are on denial. We want to wake up and think it's a nightmare. That's about how we all are right now.
I feel bad for his family, I do. But my main concern is my son and the outcome of the situation.
Relatives of Watley tell us Posadas had threatened Watley, and Watley was so afraid he told his wife and children to leave their home after Sunday's fight.
That's not my son. That's not the child that I raised. And there's more to this story than what the media has been exposed to.
Watley is due back in court January 28th. His family expects more to be revealed about the circumstances before Watley got into his truck. And meanwhile, the family of Carlos Posadas is in the process of planning his funeral and his ultimate return to Honduras.
So now here we have two cases of black on white murder. Both cases, the reporter really wants to let us know, well, there's probably more to it than what we're seeing.
Please, sir. I want some more.
Probably a reason why that young black guy went and killed the old white dude. They were having a disagreement. The white guy was picking on him because that's just what white people do. Every reporter in America knows if they stick to that party line, if they stick to that narrative of black victimization, you'll never get fired for falsely reporting a story of black victimization. But once you start connecting the dots, looking at patterns, anybody with the nerve to report that is putting their career in an enormous amount of jeopardy, because connecting the dots and talking about the dots, that makes the black kids angry.